gonna win this series. Loading up into Royal Blood. Starting in the bottom left corner, it is playing for Team Alpha X. Max, Astrea, Angel.
Currently not the Alpha and Alpha X, it's Ragnarok at the moment. And in the top right-hand side, the Alpha in any room he steps into, it is for Big Clan. ShoWTimE!
Big, big, big.
Wow, you're reading for ShoWTimE?
I just like their chant.
That's the
I'm
chant.
not reading for everyone, cats, as
Wait,
we
is that
shouldn't
actually
be,
the
because
chant
we are
of Big?
unbiased casters.
I am not an unbiased casters.
You are not?
Of course not. That is a
Oh,
farce. That is anyone who thinks there is anyone in the world that doesn't have biases. Just doesn't understand what a bias is.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. But there is a difference between having a bias and displaying that bias, right? Surely.
Yeah, so I'm an honest caster. I am transparent. You can see through me. I display. I say what I think. I you know, like that, because otherwise you're being dishonest, right? So would you rather have a biased caster that has all of their biases, as everyone in the world does, or would you rather have a dishonest caster? That is the philosophical question to ponder on for today.
There you go, chat. Something to think about as you enjoy these beautiful games. Because so far, nothing really happening in this match. I mean, it is a map without a ramp, which means there cannot be one gate expands, or at least most of the times there isn't. Both players just going into a 2-gate build with double gas.
Units. Let's gamble here. I have a strong bias on this map towards Stalkers because it is a short rush distance map. However, Astrea is going to choose to go for 2 Adepts instead. ShoWTimE with cancels 1 Adept, goes for Adept Sentry.
Interesting. I wonder what made him change his mind.
On the other side, I don't know, he must have seen something, or just, I mean, he could also be thinking, oh, the Sentry actually builds faster, so you can start an Adept, see if you change your mind, and then go for the Sentry and finish at the same time regardless.
Could be, could be. Both players already putting their pylons in the natural, indicating that they want to expand sometime soon. Adept, of course, of Astrea is going to go forward and attempt to scout, whereas ShoWTimE is mainly just relying on the hallucinated Phoenix to get his scout off. But look at this, he's already sending a probe around, which means he might want to proxy a pylon, possibly some kind of pressure afterwards.
Very
Ooh,
interesting.
2 more sentries out for Astrea. This is unusual.
Crazy. That is absolutely bananas. And okay, the Adept is going to get inside, shoots at one of the probes in the gas. Let's see if he can turn his attention to get 2. It's just going to be the 1. Blink will get started here for ShoWTimE. Astrea is going to be aware of that. Drops an instant robo, possibly for the potential DT follow-up, but also with this many sentries, I have to imagine Immortals would be a good combo.
Indeed, indeed. As he does throw down his robo halfway done. I guess ShoWTimE, like you said, probably thinking of doing some kind of blink pressure, using hallucinated phoenixes to get vision on the high ground. Because as many people may know, robo units are pretty immobile. It might be difficult for Astrea to jump between the natural and the main to try and cover both sides. So far, actually, instead, ShoWTimE throwing down his own 3rd base, because why not?
Yeah, I'm actually very curious looking at the income graph right now. Astrea has had a little bit extra from the distant mining, I think, as compared to ShoWTimE. But yeah, I didn't look at it fast enough. So, but it looks like that would be the more efficient way to do it. Would have loved to see, because I don't like testing that much, Diego. I gotta say, I'm not like very grindy in that sense, right? Like I like theory, and I can be a little bit lazy when it comes to practice. But this was a great opportunity to see who was mining more, and I kind of missed the window by a second.
Well, I'd say Astrea definitely mined more because he chronoed a couple of probes more than ShoWTimE, and ShoWTimE is also investing a lot into this Nexus, which means he might have cut some probes. Whoa! Okay, loses a Stalker. I mean, Astrea is aware of that proxy pylon on the left-hand side of the map, but he's still gonna decide to push anyways.
Blink is about finished. Blink is about to finish in 1 second. Okay, does punish 1 Stalker. But a lot of the sentry energy already used. And the problem here for ShoWTimE, or for Astrea, is that, yeah, he has an Immortal, but ShoWTimE already has Blink. The good thing for Astrea, however, is that ShoWTimE is already kind of pinned back, so he can actually get value off of the sentries even after Blink is utilized. The Immortal is very powerful, but Astrea giving ShoWTimE a little bit too much time to get that shield battery situated. And once it's up, I don't know how he's going to breach through. If he is made aware that there is a third base, maybe he can turn his attention towards that, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Good pathing here from Astrea will allow him to siege here. No more false force field energy, however, but the hallucinated Immortal might deter ShoWTimE from engaging. It's going to be ShoWTimE who pounces onto the opportunity to kill one more Stalker. This Nexus now under fire as the shield is procced from the high ground. Beautifully done there by ShoWTimE, just a little pot shot. But if he loses his Nexus, it will be all for naught. ShoWTimE going for a counter offense. I'm not sure if I like that too much, because I imagine Astrea should be able to recall here right away, but he doesn't. He actually heads back, so this could pay off for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, so far Astrea is not aware of the counterattack. He does see it now on the observer. So I wonder what his reaction is going to be. Instant recall. Does leave one Immortal behind. I think that was a mistake.
It has to be a mistake, right? Like, I would imagine that it's a mistake. He's going to send it to the top left-hand corner just to hide, basically, to get it out of harm's way. Almost an Immortal flank would have been really sick too, though.
Can you imagine?
That would have been so sick, because there's so few Stalkers remaining here. Astrea being nifty as well with the Adepts. Love to see it.
Love to see it. As ShoWTimE takes yet another third base, you know, second time surely is gonna work.
Surely.
Question mark? But Adepts are already shading in. Ooh, there's only... Okay, there's actually quite a few.
No shade! Alright, well, that was unintended by Astrea, surely. Another little bit of a slip up here. A few in this game already. Those stray Stalkers you remember from earlier on both ends, really getting caught. So not the cleanest play, but a fun game regardless that we have in our hands. Fairly even, I would say, heading into the mid game. Of course, Astrea did get that Nexus kill. And yeah, I mean, ShoWTimE looking to take the triangle third. Now, what I do like for Astrea in this position, as he's going to find this pylon and going to send his Zealot instead of using his Immortal and exposing it for a prolonged amount of time. Another Stalker, not like this. What I do like for Astrea is that he's going very quick into charge slots, mostly warping in Zealots, and the third base that he forced is rather open if he breaks down the rocks. So, knowing Astrea, I have faith in him to break the rocks. I like breaking rocks when it makes sense.
Indeed, as it seems like the metas are clashing. ShoWTimE with Blink Stalkers versus pure Charge Lot Immortal Stalker. This is old school versus new school, as ShoWTimE is desperate to defend into his 2 shield batteries. Overcharge does go out. Cats take it away.
Yeah, great force shields here on the side of ShoWTimE to prevent most of the units of Astrea to come on forward, and that choke is going to favor ShoWTimE greatly. But he doesn't want to overextend here. The shield battery overcharge is going to run out, and the next warping of units is here for Astrea. But he's coming from that narrow choke, so not really utilizing the fact that there is those rocks here to come at a wider angle with more charge slots. However, he does have those 2 Immortals. The Archon still trying to put in some work, but 3 shield batteries here from ShoWTimE for the time being holding strong. Now the Immortal is being targeted as Astrea chases ShoWTimE back. The War Prism will be targeted down as well, and the next Immortal is to follow. Recall was already used earlier, but it's now finally off cooldown, and that means 3 of those Stalkers will be saved, but not before some heavy losses on the side of the American.
Yeah, ShoWTimE kind of showing here why the meta has deviated towards Blink Stalkers instead of those Charge Lot Archon Immortal compositions. ShoWTimE just maybe taking too much of a defensive fight on the on the shield battery was just the defining factor here. And
wow.
Now Astrea just get rolled to the counter attack.
Yeah, an unfortunate game there for Astrea. Truly, I mean, like, he had a decent position. And yeah, I'm not sure. Do we pin it? Do we pin it all to the meta here, Diejo? Like, is that composition just straight up that much better? Because I feel like Astrea went into that with some advantages, with some edges, but also fighting into 3 shield batteries is more of my problem. Fighting into the shield battery overcharge is a little bit more of my problem, and ultimately fighting into a choke against Stalkers also not my favorite thing to do, right? So I feel like Astrea could have done some of those things, or could have mitigated for some of those things. Maybe getting a little bit too impatient, or wanting to capitalize on the earlier success by killing the Nexus, thinking, okay, I'm ahead in economy, let me hit him hard and now.
Yeah, I think he might have felt a bit pressured to do the damage there, to end the game, because of course he did cut probes. He started cutting probes since before the 6-minute mark. He hadn't made any probes for about like 2 to 3 minutes at that point in time. So definitely felt like he was behind economically, and maybe just trying to end the game a bit too much. I guess one thing maybe he could have done differently is kind of step back, wait for the overcharge to run out, or maybe even send some zealots into the natural to force ShoWTimE to move away from that third base, that heavily reinforced third base.
Yeah, and that is the problem with Chartreuse as well, right? It's very difficult to disengage because you're going to be taxed on the retreat by the ranged units. But yeah, I don't know if he needed to engage. I get your point, though. He was planning on it, right? And just didn't want to deviate from that plan because he was cutting probes, etc. On that front, though, I'm not sure that cutting probes was the right call for him. After killing a Nexus, I feel like maybe you just drop your third and take your economic leads instead.
Yeah, maybe, well, hindsight's 2020, I guess. Astrea probably was really convinced that his push will work. Finishing that thought, he was probably really convinced that that push would work, so that's why he was kind of really gearing towards it. I don't think he expected there to be so many shield batteries, and just even the +1 putting a lot of work there for the ShoWTimE stalkers. Maybe he thought the +1 wouldn't be done just yet.
Yeah, very, very true. All right, well, we'll find out if Astrea can bounce back, as the main desk is also here monitoring this game. ShoWTimE is being asked to switch onto the red color, which he does. And Babylon, the city of sin, will be our next map, where Ewoks reign supreme.
Start the game, cats.
I start the game? I'm okay. Starting it. I've never started the game before.
It feels good, right? The power.
Not really, no. I'd rather not start the game, or have power for that matter. I am a servant, Diejo.
I see. A lowly servant, or just like a mid level servant?
It depends on what's needed. All right. We are now loaded into the game. And this man in the bottom right-hand side leading the series 1-0. It is for Big Clan. ShoWTimE.
And climbing up, trying to come back from his loss for the sake of $1,300. It is Alpha X Max Astrea Angel.
Alpha X. Is that a dragon on the logo of Alpha X, or a drake? Yep. Is it technically a dragon?
Yeah, I guess. Or a wyvern, maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Dragons. Are they very alpha? I guess kind of. They lay eggs, which is kind of cool.
Wait, is that why they're alpha? I would probably think because they breathe fire and gigantic
fire
claws and
alpha. And what else?
You know, like their claws and
their claws.
They look cool.
So if I don't cut my nails, I'm more alpha. Is what you're saying?
Well, those would just be really long nails.
Oh, I see.
I wouldn't call them claws.
I see. Claws have to have a certain weight to them to pass the threshold, I guess.
Yeah, maybe like a bear claw. I think that would also be pretty alpha.
So yeah, that would be ShoWTimE, right? Like bear claw is literally the logo here for Big Clan.
That is very true.
Both players making a zealot to deny the potential pylon and delay off their nexus here, as they have both. They are both looking to expand onto the low ground. Stargate on either side will be spotted as well. So Phoenix Wars not off the table.
Definitely not. And in fact, might be what's going to happen this very game. I mean, both players already know their target's going up, which means you want to start optimizing towards the Phoenix Wars, right? Like your Phoenix count is everything that's going to dictate the game. So you want to make sure that your economy gets up and going as soon as possible so that you can consistently make those phoenixes, but also you want that second Stargate as soon as possible because that's where things start to get hectic.
Yeah, it's going to be a Phoenix on either side here. There's always a potential for an Oracle first if you want to be sneaky and gamble a little bit, hide your Oracle, and then go when the Phoenix are moving on the other side. But that is less likely, especially when you know your opponent's also going for a Stargate. Because then you should be signaling to your opponent, I'm going Phoenix. And if you're both going Phoenix, then you probably shouldn't cross the map so confidently. The first Phoenix will do so, of course, as there is very little risk. They will find each other, and yeah, I think that should just be a trade, right? I don't see... one Phoenix beats the other! Okay.
No.
Should just be
that
a
was
trade.
close.
Yeah, that was actually close. I guess...
It's interesting how like these variations, for example, ShoWTimE hasn't even... He opted not to even start the warp gate.
This is like Harry Potter all over again. I mean, this is a gamble, I think, from either side. I have no idea who's going to fire first if both Phoenix are going to kill each other again. There is a random factor in the shooting, right, or no?
There is a random delay, yeah, but it's very small, and it shouldn't be enough for one Phoenix to beat the other.
Well, if there is a random delay and you want to gamble, the way to gamble would be to get as close as possible, right?
Yeah, you want your attack animation to be a bit far. Or not far.
Close. But you're gambling on both ends there. Yeah, you're gambling on both ends in the sense that you don't know which one's going to fire first. Here's the Oracle, the random Oracle from Astrea that I was talking about. And it's going to work wonders for him. Already 4 probes going down. The recall! It will actually get saved. Wow,
that is pretty crazy. This Zealot will end up being killed, of course. But I guess if force lift of some kind. But behind this, you can see Astrea already going for the transition. He says no to the Phoenix Wars and starts pumping out the Blink Stalkers, or soon to be Blink Stalkers. And meanwhile, ShoWTimE making Phoenixes 2x2.
Yeah,
but now he definitely knows.
Again. Yeah, ShoWTimE is looking for the Oracle again, but I'm not so sure that that's the play. I think you want to be out on the other side of the map, dealing damage to the probes as early as possible if you're ShoWTimE, because you've identified that there's a gap in production at the very least on your opponent's Phoenixes, so you should have more Phoenixes. That should be I think that should be your cue to move across and be like, okay, I'm gonna find you. But he's still concerned about that Oracle. So we can see how important that recall from Astrea with the 1 HP Oracle was, in the sense that ShoWTimE is not dealing the damage that he wants to be dealing as a result.
Yeah, and I mean, now, I don't know, I feel like these Phoenixes might start to get a bit too much for Astrea to handle. He's not going to protect those probes. He's going to end up losing quite a few of them, at least 5, I would say.
Yeah, and in that sense, I mean, good job from the Zealot sacrificing its life earlier, right? Because that's 2 less probes that go down by virtue of the Phoenixes looking for the value there. And in Phoenix versus Phoenix Wars, that would be a good thing to do, because you don't care about the probes in Phoenix versus Phoenix Wars. If you're lifting up probes, your Phoenix are dying to the other Phoenix. So you know, you pick off a Zealot, you're happy. But in Phoenix versus anything else wars, all of a sudden lifting up a Zealot twice means 2 less probes that you could have killed. Which, yeah.
And this game actually took an interesting turn. I really like the way Astrea is dealing with this. I mean, he put pylons all over the map because he knows that ShoWTimE only has that 1 Zealot as anti-ground. But that also shows him that there is no third base. And what is ShoWTimE going to do to kill him? Nothing. So he's just going to keep remaking those probes and kind of put on the pressure on ShoWTimE's side of the map. He has Blink Stalkers now, so the only thing for him to be afraid of really are Immortals. So as long as he doesn't fight into those, I think he should be fine.
I mean, Immortals and Void Rays, though, against Stalkers, if they get pinned back, it's going to be a nasty fight, especially with the help of the Phoenix. And Astrea knows that ShoWTimE doesn't have a third. Now ShoWTimE going for the third. However, the Immortal's going to get stasis, but that's a blessing in disguise. That could have been the probe, and it would have further delayed this third. I don't know if I like this approach from ShoWTimE. I was looking forward to a big attack with Void Ray Immortal Phoenix, trying to capitalize on the fact that Astrea has that third, on the fact that he has been getting map control. ShoWTimE is unaware of the third, though, and that's part of the issue here, I think. Astrea is getting away with murder.
That is very true. I mean, you can already see the economic advantage starting to pair up. 5 gateways on the way, plus 1 attack charge. Astrea's economy is booming, and that's going to translate into army value soon enough, and it might start to snowball soon enough. I mean, I guess I can see why ShoWTimE would be scared of pushing. Keep in mind that Phoenixes are not very good on top of shield batteries. If they lift Stalkers under a shield battery, they're not going to be able to kill it, especially with an overcharge.
Yeah, but I mean, you have Void Rays and Immortals to you know, help there to kill the units that are being lifted or the units that are unable to retreat. And I mean, ShoWTimE can't really push once he situates that third, right? Like, because he could have had more units. He could have had maybe an extra couple of Void Rays or an extra Immortal or something of the sort, like depending on where he allocates his Chrono Boost. But as it stands, I mean, he has to sit back. He didn't confirm the third. Astrea already going for a 4th base and going into an army composition that this time around should be much better, because the Archons are going to do fantastic against the Void Rays, and the Zealots are going to do fantastic against the Immortals. So where I was worried for Astrea, if he stayed on Stalkers, this transition is looking pretty strong.
It is looking pretty strong indeed. He does bring the War Prism, maybe poised to take a fight here at ShoWTimE's third. Although I am a bit worried with this pushing into the SimCity with this many charge lots.
Yeah.
This is a great read on ShoWTimE, recognizing the Astrea's army and just making sure that SimCity is his forte here. This is like playing Terran one-on-one. You want your SimCity to work for you against this many units, but is it gonna be enough? I guess we're gonna find out.
Yeah, Astrea, I mean, that Oracle once again providing extra value. The boy who lived is providing extra value here as he gets the revelation. He knows what the setup is, and as a result, he is able to find out. Here comes Astrea with everything. There is a Disruptor flank, but it's gonna be flanked itself, not be intended to from ShoWTimE, really not accounting for it popping up as it did. And now Astrea with a beautiful flank. The Disruptor is gonna get a bad connection, to be honest, and now it's just the air here for ShoWTimE. It is a sizable amount of air, but the shield batteries are all gone, and Astrea is flooding on through. Even if the air was to clear Astrea, I have to imagine Astrea will end up doing some economic damage here, as the Zealots are now spilling into the mineral line, and Astrea has 4 bases. It's not going to be required for Astrea to do anything else here. He will close out the game. ShoWTimE will GG, and we have a tight series. Daiejo ShoWTimE, back to you.
What an interesting approach here by Astrea. At least this is a first for me. I don't know if this is a common way to do it, but he just decided, I don't really want to fight you in Phoenix Wars, so I'm gonna sacrifice my 2 first Phoenixes, and then I'm gonna throw a little curveball with the Oracle, killing 4 probes and getting the recall off, and then going into Stalkers. That was really cool to watch. I mean, it did look like ShoWTimE could have killed them there for a few moments. Of course, he did not know about the 3rd base, so he didn't know that he was actually being completely destroyed in terms of economy. So maybe that's what prompted him to just play kind of turtily. And then the hold, it also felt a bit unfortunate that one of the disruptors actually ended up being caught, so he didn't get the disruptor shot off. Maybe that would have changed things. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely uncommon to go, or completely unheard of, I should say. It is kind of uncommon to go for an Oracle in the face of scouting the Stargate, right, and try to be sneaky, and then play for Blink. And what's interesting here is that's kind of what happened because the first 2 Phoenix were sacrificed, right? If you think about it, usually you would think, oh, that's an even trade, that's an even trade. Not really. It favors Astrea in his approach, basically, right? Because if you are sacrificing those 2 Phoenixes, and you are transitioning, you were never going to get value out of the lifts. Where ShoWTimE would have gotten max value out of his first 2 Phoenixes lift, which would have gotten the maximum amount of energy. So that could have been an extra 4 probes that Astrea lost like later in the game, because he was never going to be able to contend in the Phoenix versus Phoenix Wars if he was transitioning. So maybe that decision from both players to sacrifice their Phoenix also informs Astrea into his option as to what his options are transitioning, and how that makes kind of like reset the game back to where Oracle is an option again, because you've both lowered your Phoenix counts back to 0, if that makes any sense.
Right, exactly. And also buys time for his Warp Gate, right? Which he definitely needs if he wants to go into the Stalker-based army.
Indeed.
So
Indeed.
Beautifully done.
Time also an issue, I guess like a concern there for Astrea that he takes into account. As he is going to be going for the low ground expand. Very rare on a map like this, especially a short one like this one. I wonder what ShoWTimE is going to look to do to try to punish or slow down his opponent. ShoWTimE not usually a player to, you know, like to be too aggressive. He kind of likes to play his own thing. He likes to absorb. He doesn't have a sharp sword usually. And Astrea, I mean, he really wanted this Nexus too.
Indeed. I mean, even after scouting this, ShoWTimE still decides to go into 2 gateways, which does indicate that he kind of wants to play a bit aggressive against this, try to punish it somehow. But yeah, getting the block at like 380 minerals, I think Astrea was at, actually was pretty big.
Yeah. After DreamHack Atlanta, I went to Florida with Shutdown and Geralt. And one thing that I noticed Geralt does is he always, every single game that I've watched in PvP in the last season of DreamHack, opens 2 gateways. And I was asking him why, because it feels like you set yourself behind against this sort of build order. And watching his games, a lot of the time he is playing from behind, but he just felt very comfortable in the opening and very comfortable transitioning out of the opening into the late game. So I wonder if it's a similar situation for ShoWTimE here, but it doesn't seem to be, as he does fire up 2 Stalkers. I would say that is the most pressure-intensive unit here that he can make in this early game, especially with a wall that's going to be exposed, right? Like, they can actually start DPSing that wall. So let's see what Astrea does here.
All right, 2 Stalkers are out, 2 more on the way for ShoWTimE. This is a pretty substantial investment, but he is going to have 4 units against 3 at best.
Yeah, I mean, the battery's a little bit late, but lucky for Astrea, ShoWTimE didn't cross the map right away, right? Because if he had... I mean, worst case scenario for ShoWTimE, if you cross the map, is you run into 1 Stalker and a second one popping up, right? Or, like, let's just say 2 Stalkers for the sake of it. You have 2 Stalkers against 2 Stalkers, no problem, right? So I'm a little bit surprised that he instead goes for scouting the proxies and whatnot, but I guess after his probe dies and he knows that he delayed the Nexus, he doesn't know, and he knows that Astrea is the type of player that might do something like that, so...
1 Stalker does get caught out here out of position, but that does give him the chance to maybe push up and try to snipe the shield barrier before the units get back. That would actually be huge. At least it does buy time for 1 more Stalker to come out.
Yeah, might tax him a Stalker here on the retreat, but let's not forget there is an extra Stalker here for ShoWTimE out on the map. The Cellar is going to do wonders here for Astrea as he continues to push ShoWTimE back. And in ShoWTimE's vision, I mean, does he know that there is no Nexus?
I don't think he is aware, because he did get walled off from the natural. Like, his unit was not able to push far enough to see that Nexus.
This could be very scary for ShoWTimE, because he's going into sentries next, 3 of them all day, expanding, doesn't have a shield battery yet, and we have Blink on the way. Yeah, he did just confirm the proxy gate.
He sees a proxy gate. Shield battery is almost done. So definitely has an idea of what's going on here. His choice is going to be to go into Robo instead of Twilight. Very sound choice, as he wants that defensive capability of the chronoing out Immortals against this push.
Yeah, but Astrea's pretty all-in already. Oh, what a nifty, but I'm not even sure if that's... I mean, that's cute, but is it really going to accomplish anything? I guess Adept warping on the side is what Astrea's planning here, right? Nothing else makes sense to me.
Yeah. It must be, because he doesn't have vision to blink into the main anyways. So maybe he just wants to open another path to...
It's very clever. I mean, it's very difficult to know or imagine from ShoWTimE that that's an option. So I think Astrea is going to be looking for that. However, his attack at the front is very committed. Immortal just started here for ShoWTimE. And Astrea is going to blink on forward. He knows that he has the Stalker numbers to start one-shotting stuff. ShoWTimE with the hallucinations was very smart. As, you know, those could potentially tank. One of those hallucinations does end up tanking, but the extra reinforcements for Astrea are here. Shield battery overcharge will go up, but the last shot of the Stalker is enough to kill an extra 1. Now Astrea just has to wait. On the side, he canceled this gas, I think. So he's not going to be doing that trickery, but now has enough Stalkers to blinking once again.
Wow. 2 Stalker. Okay, does lose
Immortals
1 for
out.
it at least.
Immortals out. Immortals out, but away from the shield battery. Astrea still thinking that he has the DPS, but missing 1 shot there is not ideal. We'll proc the shield from the Immortal with that 1 Stalker. But yeah, things are getting heated up here. Both players in a little bit of trouble here. One shield battery at the front is already out of energy, but will get targeted down. Stalker bleeds on the side of Astrea.
Yeah, he hasn't even tried to target down that Immortal just yet. It still even has his barriers up. Oh wait,
No,
it's still
doesn't.
actually on cooldown for a bit
Astrea
more.
Oh.
But it's up in 3 seconds actually. So if he wants to snipe it again, he is gonna have to go through the barrier. And there he goes.
So many of these units are just like surviving with 1 HP on the side of ShoWTimE. Just not enough DPS here from Astrea, and he's running out of gas. Next shield battery overcharge is here, and another Stalker bled out from Astrea. Perhaps looking
ShoWTimE making sure to keep up that pro production, because even if they can't mine, they still work as buffer for the army. So very even still.
Hallucinated War Prism here for vision or something. I'm not even sure what that's about. Maybe trying to absorb some shots. Trying to make Astrea think that he made a War Prism for micro. But yeah, I mean, Astrea's kind of out of steam here. He's going to drop his own Nexus. Worker counts, like you mentioned, Diego, are even.
That's one more Stalker as he blinks away. But I think ShoWTimE suspects it. He suspects that there's not more Stalkers coming in.
Astrea, stop.
Right? So
yeah. I am so concerned every time he inches on forward Astrea. As now we're going to see the gas and potentially the move with the Adepts that we were talking about earlier.
It's interesting that he decides to do it, though, because frankly, he could just shade the Adepts from this proxy as well. But actually has Hallucinated Phoenix. Very cute. Links it to the main, but now he's going to be kind of stuck inside.
Yeah, misfired as well onto the gateway instead of one of the Stalkers. Only loses 1 Stalker for his troubles. Yeah, I mean, the advantage of the side path is the vision, right? You don't get a heads up if you're ShoWTimE. You're going to be situated at the front there with your army. But he might get... yeah, he catches a glimpse of the probe with those Stalkers. And that means this probe is going to fall. And the investment from Astrea is for naught. There's those 2 Adepts as well on the side. They'll never make it in through there. But yeah, I love it. Like, I was trying to think about it, right? And it's like, why would you ever do this? It's just for the vision. You know where ShoWTimE's going to be looking. And he shouldn't have been looking in that backwards path. And so that is what I think the surprise element is what pays for all of this trickery.
Well, unfortunately, didn't get the minerals off, which means that proxy pylon is not going to be incredibly effective. Astrea is still trying to get some map control, spreading units around. He has Stalkers in the middle to catch Hallucinated Phoenixes. Entries on the watchtower, Adepts on the other. He's making sure that ShoWTimE doesn't cross the map without his consent, without his knowledge, because if he does so, it would be difficult for Astrea to hold, kind of. I mean, he's just now started to catch up in economy. He was a bit behind throughout all of this, but it also means that he didn't warp in that many units for a relatively long time.
No, look at the rocks. He's ready to break him if ShoWTimE wants to come. But yeah, I mean, ShoWTimE just started Blink, right? So it's not going to happen really. Not until Blink is ready at least. ShoWTimE does have that faster third. Astrea is now trailing behind him. And he will start his +1 a little bit sooner than ShoWTimE here. Also on the defense, Diego, a really cool thing that ShoWTimE did that is kind of unintuitive is he only made 1 Immortal from the Robo. Which is unintuitive because Immortals are the counter to Stalkers. But, you know, like the advantage is you are not missing out on warpins, so you have more units earlier, which is what he deemed he needed for the hold. So instead of getting a stronger unit later, he always favored, okay, like the next wave is what I need to hold. The next wave is what I need to hold, and it worked out beautifully for him.
It did indeed. Immortals, of course, are extremely expensive units. 275 minerals for you to dish out on the 1 base economy, essentially. It's a lot of money. It takes you at least like 15 seconds for you to mine that kind of money. So
yeah. And yeah, it's a time issue, basically, right? Because if you give me the option of spend your money in the best unit that you can get, and it instantly spawns, it's an Immortal, but it doesn't instantly spawn.
That is true. Very true. If you want it fast as well, you have to spend a Chrono Boost, which really you don't have that much of in the early game, so makes sense. As Disruptors are already going out for the Astrea. He's going up to 3 before ShoWTimE's Robo Bay is even done, so maybe ShoWTimE is feeling kind of pressured to do damage, but I don't know how much he can do against these many disruptors.
Yeah,
it's
at least the wall.
Difficult.
The wall is going to be exposed, right? Disruptors are not going to be great at answering this, so ShoWTimE will take that down. Astrea is going to need a new Cybercore ASAP, but I do love the transition because it kind of acknowledges, okay, I'm behind in this game economically, let's just drag the game, and disruptors are the best way to do that, right? Like, once there's disruptors out, supply matters a little bit less. Oh!
Wow.
Astrea. Good moves.
Cold-blooded snipe there by ShoWTimE. Really cutting it close there with the disruptor shot, but very well done. As this Cybercore is still not done, which means Astrea can't reinforce the Stalker count. It should be able to soon enough.
Yeah, very cool move as well from the Disruptor of Astrea. Runs past the Stalkers, anticipating the blink, right? So almost catches a few there.
Scorpion of Zealots, he is positioning himself to kind of do a multi-pronged attack here against Astrea.
Okay.
And it might actually work out.
Oh, be careful with that one. Yeah, it saves the Immortal at least. Great job from ShoWTimE. There's more Spark Cells available though, so the Immortal's not even going to fire back. It's just crabbing around, as Zealots in the main are going to be pretty annoying. No charge on these, but Astrea doesn't really have the forces in place to deal with them. And charge lots and kind of just spreading your army if you're ShoWTimE is excellent right now, because disruptors work best in a clump, right? They're difficult units to pay attention to micro on multiple fronts. So yeah, I mean, you can take advantage of the fact that Astrea is kind of balling up into that composition if you can spread them open.
Yeah. ShoWTimE was playing extra safe, by the way. He didn't move forward until he saw the Stalkers clearing up the Zealots in the main, so making sure safe against that. Those Disruptors are getting cheekier and cheekier. I mean, they're kind of out here without much protection, but he does have enough of them that if ShoWTimE decides to blink forward, it might end up costing him a lot of Stalkers.
Indeed. We out here say the Disruptors. Now it's a Disruptor war game. ShoWTimE with a sizable supply lead, but again, not the most meaningful statistic when there's Disruptors out, right? Like, because one single good Nova will equalize things easily. DTs to defend now on the side of Astrea, a very clever solution to the problem that we were mentioning before, right? Like, now ShoWTimE needs observers wherever he wants a ram by, which is extra taxing, extra attention that he has to allocate. He has to not lose that very fragile unit as well. And Astrea chases him to the middle of the map and back.
Indeed. So, have to watch out there for the disruptor shots, but so far good micro, no big hits. So, as of just yet, I mean, Astrea actually still on a low gas, I guess. Okay, now he's taking the gases of his fourth base. I don't think they started Templar Archives just yet, so not really opting for that gas dump option just yet.
Not just yet. A little bit of a counterattack here on the side of ShoWTimE. Is there an observer? There is. And yeah, that could be a little bit scary because the DTs might offer us a false sense of confidence for Astrea. Here is the DTs. They're going to be exposed at the front, the cannon in the back, and the shield battery overcharge are going to try to help, but there's no blink on those DTs, so they cannot retreat. Another warping of DTs as Astrea, I imagine, tried to snipe the observer unsuccessfully. And here come the reinforcements for him, but it's not nearly enough. He has to bring his Disruptor army. Beautiful moves here from ShoWTimE, utilizing the advantages that he has. But now the army of Astrea is here in full force. Only Disruptors to attend to the flank on the right. And this is where it gets dangerous. ShoWTimE could blink on forward, and he does. Astrea now has to land some shots. He will land a massive one, but is that enough? All the Disruptors in the back still alive for ShoWTimE. So ShoWTimE capitalizing on exactly what we were talking about. It's difficult to hold on multiple fronts with Disruptors. Astrea does what he can because he had to basically react to that army, but it's not enough. I mean, he has been reset back to the Stone Age in terms of tech.
Back to the Stone Age, well, in Protoss terms, basically. But yeah, he is still relying on those Stalkers. As he blinks forward, does snipe the Disruptor in the nick of time. Ooh.
Oh, does not snipe that one. One shot away again. Many of those close calls for ShoWTimE, who is now continuing to apply pressure onto a fresh base of Astrea, which is a blessing in disguise as well for Astrea, perhaps, as another Disruptor gets sniped and a second one gets pretty low. A Stalker will be left without much to do there. The Nexus doesn't even get a cancel, but it does buy time for Astrea to actually react in the more important base, as he is now deemed to recall Stalkers. 3 of them will go down to the last shot of the Disruptors, and this is not enough actually for Astrea. ShoWTimE punching on through very strong. 50 supply ahead already.
Very well done by ShoWTimE, and Zealots are so fast that he can actually pull back once the Astrea's army comes to defend. So just being pulled apart really here. I mean, can't really keep up with both sides at the same time.
We'll blink on forward. We'll blink onto this Disruptors, and that's gonna cost him dearly. That might just be game. I understand the feeling that Astrea needed or felt like he needed to make something happen onto that army. But it's not. It's not gonna happen, Diego. This is a ShoWTimE game through and through. I can't imagine a world in which Astrea comes back. So I think we're witnessing the final moments here as the 4th and the 3rd of Astrea are both getting sieged successfully.
Indeed, this base is gonna go down. Both bases are gonna go down, actually. Astrea's economy is in shambles. He doesn't even get a good disruptor shot, connects on a single stalker there. It's just forced to tap out.